Welcome. So, when you're taking on a new challenge, how do you know if it's a waste of time or not? It's a good question, right? Gotta love a good question. The question is, how do you come up with a really good answer? Much more of a challenge, is it not? Is it not? Hey, I want to welcome everybody to Tomato Talk, top of mind, advancing through obstacles. That's what we talk about. And we're going to have guests on coming up soon. So that should be pretty darn exciting also. One of my obstacles with that, it actually takes time. It takes time to have guests on. Got to figure out who, make sure it's comfortable, kind of get an understanding, maybe not a clear understanding of where you're going with it, but an understanding of where you're going to go with the show, what message you want to deliver, stuff like that. So it's kind of exciting to do, a little bit of time consuming to do. But it's that excitement that really, that's the fun part. But isn't it the same thing in some respects that you have with your own goals? So if your goals are clear cut and you know it's exactly what you want to achieve, that it's good. Hey, look, if your sales are something like $100,000, just want to hit a button over here. If your sales are $100,000 for the quarter or something like that, and you want to boost them to $200,000, okay, there you go. You got yourself a clear-cut goal. So now it's a matter of developing a clear-cut path in order to get to that clear-cut goal. Kind of straightforward. And then you work through to make sure that that path you're on is something you take a look at on a frequent basis to make sure you don't veer off course altogether too much or veer off course at all. Boy, wouldn't that be nice, right? You know you want to increase sales. You want to do another $100,000 worth of revenue, let's say, in a quarter. You know exactly how you're pricing yourself, whether it's coaching hours, if it's products, how you need to sell those products, how much money you need to sell, how much money you need to spend in order to achieve sales. Oh, I'm sure you got all that stuff written down someplace, right? Calculated. You know, you've seen those videos that show up every once in a while. I spend $3 and I get back 10 for every $3 I spend. I hope that's actually true what these people are saying, but maybe it is. Maybe it is with you too, if you know it. If you know it. The problem and the challenge is, though, if you don't know it. So how do you really know what's a waste of time and what's not a waste of time? Not easy. I don't have a clear-cut answer for you on that one, but it's not easy. But the thing that has to happen with that decision as to whether or not you take something on or not really should be, you should be spending some time thinking about it. Make sure you don't come to that conclusion lightly as to what it is. So how do you do that? Kind of look at it from this approach. One is how much money have you budgeted toward different projects? Had a conversation with somebody earlier talking about budgets. You know, certain amount of money has been allocated to a certain project, certain effort, and that's it. Once you reach that, you reach it. There's no looking back on it. It's been decided. You look back on it at the end of the year to see if it made sense for you to do that, see what the rate of return is, and hopefully every $3 invested in it turns into $10 worth of sales. That's nice. And you know, you could keep spending money because the more money you spend, the more money you make. That's pretty simple. But it's a decision that needs to be made, and sometimes that decision needs to be made up front. So again, how do you do it? It's a matter of allocating resources. It could be time, it could be money, and it could be partnerships. Partnerships. So let's take the monetary aspect of it. How much money do you allocate toward different things? Categorize them. Got to categorize these things. So that money, if it's money that generates money, Well, that could be an unlimited. It could be an unlimited budget because if you spend three, you get back 10. That's pretty simple. But if it's a PR budget, if it's just a straight advertising budget that you can't really qualify how much comes back on it, then you got to set yourself a hard and fast number on it because you're going to get these contacts. People are going to call you up and say, "Oh, look, this would be great for you. You get a chance to do this, and then you're going to be in front of 100 people, 500 people, 1,000 people, or even more, potentially the entire world." Ah, the beauty of social media. Man, it's easy for me to sit here and say, "Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm potentially in front of the whole entire world. Anybody on Facebook or YouTube." I can make that claim. That's actually true. It's not reality. It's not reality. Well, I guess it is reality, but it's not really what happened. So, got to be careful as to how you're looking at those things. But come to the conclusion yourself. What's realistic? Yeah, is the whole entire world going to watch your video? No, it definitely is not. It's very difficult to get your video out in front of that many people to get the attention of, and everybody keeps changing these algorithms around, and it's harder and harder, and there's so much stuff being posted, so many podcasts being done, so many everything being done. It's like super hard, really truly is, and that. So you got to figure out what amount of money you want to spend on that, or what amount of time you're willing to put into it. I've been professing this one all along, about reasons why I do this thing and how I do this thing. The monetary aspect of it, especially for something like this doesn't generate any income to me, no direct income to me. It it gives satisfies my need to do these things, to stay current and things like that. I totally enjoy doing it. Love to have guests on. I never charge anybody a guest fee. Now that would be different, right? If I was charging a fee for people to come on, then I would look to spend money to promote this stuff because now the more I promote it, the bigger the following, perhaps the more I could charge people to come on. It's not the goal on this one. So I don't do that. Definitely looking at more of that word of mouth kind of thing. So that, and then having guests on in order to expand it out, a little bit more so that way, that kind of stuff. Other money, got the lights, which right now with the sun out, so we just using natural light. Plus, I got a better camera, and so that has changed the lighting around, quite a bit. So that's good. And I did remember some of the early videos about where to have light. Well, if I had the light, I'll turn my head. If I had my light this way and the camera coming like this, one side of my face is dark, the other is bright. That's not good. So now I'm actually looking toward the window, so we're getting the natural light coming through over here. And you can tell on those days when it's a little cloudy out, it's a little bit of a difference. The day when it's a bright sunshine and that kind of thing, I get lit up pretty well. Plus, also I got a fence out there that's white. Not that you need to know all these things, but whatever. The point is that you could do stuff without spending altogether too much money and doing that. But how far does it really go? And is it really serving your purpose? If you've got a business and you're trying to promote your coaching skills, or you're trying to promote a product and stuff like that, and you're trying to really get out there and do things, should you be spending money on it? Yeah, absolutely, you should. You really should. Then the question, is what? And marketing is wide. It's such an all encompassing word when it comes to marketing. And this is where it becomes very important. So, who are you speaking to about marketing? It really depends what you're trying to accomplish. And the more specific you could be, the better it's going to be. And this is where that waste of time thing comes into play. All right, even your own time. So let's assume you're going to hire somebody. Here's the thing that you need to do. You need to ask that person who it is that they work with, what kind of companies that they work with, and what those companies do. Now, what I mean by that, are they service companies or are they product companies? There's a big difference there. If they're product companies, then it's much more about the product, what the product is and stuff like that. And maybe it can be promoted out into a larger area. Maybe it's promoted out into a much more finite area, If it's a kitchen appliance and it's a high-end kitchen appliance, well, then you only want to get that product. They would look to get that product in front of people that are interested in cooking and have got, let's say, disposable income, depending upon the dollar amount of that product and things like that. So everybody gets profiled by doing that. If it's one of these 9.99 deals and then that kind of thing, well, now it's anybody that cooks or anybody kitchen or anybody like that. So it's different. But if you have a service that you're looking to provide, you're a coach, you're a business coach, and those are the kind of companies that your digital marketer, your marketing company works with, it's different. It's a whole different approach. So for you, it's much more of a story that you want to tell, your experience, credibility, all the rest of that stuff. A $9 product, a 9.99 product is a different level of credibility, that goes along with it. You show it being in use, when it's done. So there, your time spent on that is going to be interviewing these people, interviewing the marketers, and making sure you do that. Thanks, Tyler. Making sure you are speaking to somebody that works within your target market. All right. And got to be really, really clear about that. Otherwise, you're just spending money for the sake of spending money. Now, what about time? What about time? So now let's assume you're not spending any money, doing this and time. So this kind of a podcast, right? So what I'm looking to do is share ideas for the small business owner. Could I share ideas about what it's like to run a large corporation? The answer is, yeah, I could spit stuff out, but what gives me the credibility to talk about that? I could talk about what it's like to be an employee at some companies, that kind of thing, but whatever. I'm not in the job coaching business. I'm not in the career coaching business. So whatever. You want to know what I think you could do to become a better employee? I could tell you. But, that's not really the focus on the whole thing. But I can tell you, it's what it's like to take basically a hobby and try to turn it into much more of a business. Man, I've been experiencing that. Love to tell you. I can tell you what it's like to go through this whole process of creating podcasts and doing that, where to get your skills and what you get your confidence on the communication side of things and do that. Can that be done in a digital format by just a product marketer? Probably not. So this is it. But I would need somebody to understand that. So that's where that aspect of it goes. But now, where do I share this? So if you're going to spend time promoting yourself, Tyler, with his efforts and you with your efforts, if you're going to spend time promoting yourself and your service, or even if you're going to promote your product, flat out product, got to know who your target market is, and then really decide where those people are. And now the clearer you could be with that, the more you're going to understand what is and what is not a waste of time. Gosh, I've spoken to people. There is amazing thing. Go to an event and you go around the room and it's like, okay, everybody, deliver your elevator pitch. You got 30 seconds. Go talk about what it is you do. I do this, I do that, I do this, and no mention about who it is that you're really looking to get in front of. So if you're sitting there listening to this, you just have no idea. You have no idea if you fit into that person's personality. I will use the marketer person. Oh, I help businesses market themselves. I market products and services, and we do it in a wide variety of different ways. I can help you market your services. What? As opposed to, I help market the services of the entrepreneur, someone who is who's got a story behind their product, or someone who's got a story behind the coaching that they do. Work with that. Now, all of a sudden, I bet you saw yourself more in that one than you did in the other one, because it's just a clearer picture that goes along with it. Now, let's assume you are this person and not delivering the elevator pitch, probably to the most important person in the world. That's you. That's right. Can you actually tell you what it is that you do? What value you really provide? Who you really want to speak to? There you go. Now, I'm not a big fan of, standing in front of a mirror, giving a talk, to yourself. You can't evaluate yourself. Not a huge fan either of sitting there recording yourself and then listening to it because, again, you can't evaluate yourself. But I am a big fan of you sitting in front of a camera and giving your elevator pitch and then listening to it and see what's really concrete. What concrete words did you use in there? And if you don't have any concrete words in there, well, then that elevator pitch really becomes a waste of time. Look for something that's very specific. Try to talk in picture form. I work with people that have got 10 employees or less. You just put a picture in your head? Yeah, you did. I work with people that are very focused, that have a good, strong story behind whatever it is that they do. You know what? Maybe that's it. If you're an employee, if you're in business development for a company and you don't have a real strong emotional attachment to that company, you're probably not going to see yourself. But what if you did? I bet you will. There was a company, it was a long time ago. Don't want to mention names, not even really industry, but there was a company that was being run by the president of the company, started this company because there was a challenge in his family that he wanted to fix. And he did. He created a company on that whole thing, and he was able to help his son out with regards to that. And then a company evolved out of the whole thing. That man has a real strong story behind his company. He doesn't just sell a product, he sells a service, he sells a story behind the whole thing. Fascinating. So when he stood up in front of his employees and explained that story, I was like, I didn't know. I didn't know. I was asked to go in there and just to help out in the communication side of things, but I didn't know. I did speak about the emotional attachment to the product and stuff like that. And then next thing you know, he cuts me off. Now I know why. Cuts me off and he tells the story. He was like, wow. So obviously, he and I spoke. It would be one thing. But what if you were an employee of that company and you don't have a strong story behind what product you sell? Then you wouldn't see yourself in that pitch of mine. But if you do have a strong story behind it, now all of a sudden you would see yourself. So that makes it, better for me or you when you're explaining your company, your service out over there. But it's those people. Now you want to talk about waste of time on the employee side, it's the same thing. If you're working for a company and you're not emotionally engaged in the success of that company and you're just there for the dollar, you know something? That only goes so far. If you're a great salesperson, you could sell, anything to anybody, and that's what it is, and you enjoy the kill of the sale. You know what? Okay, yeah, you'll do well just because. I don't know, not a fan of that one. But if you have that strong story behind the whole thing, you're going to really achieve something. So now you, from a career standpoint, you're not wasting your time, on that one. So that's when it comes to how you market yourself. And if you come to hiring somebody to help you out, that's really important there. And this comes to different groups, organizations, things like that, nonprofits you get behind, the whole thing. The whole thing. Is it in line with what it is that you are doing? And then you can actually justify it a little bit more or back away from it as need be. Now, let's go with the nonprofit world. Nonprofit world, you get behind a nonprofit. You have a company, you have a service, it's yours. You get to make the decision on it. No, let's work with that. You are the decision maker over here, right? You're going to get involved with a nonprofit. Why are you going to do that? What is a waste of time for you, and what is not a waste of time for you? How do you decide that one? Well, there is a emotional attachment to it. I'll be more specific on that one. If this is a nonprofit that has helped out you, your family, your very close friend, dear neighbor, whatever, somebody that has really helped you and you got a personal experience over there, then forget about everything else I say as to whether or not it makes sense. It doesn't make sense. It makes sense. Whether it benefits your business or not, it's some of those things. It's like, who cares? It just doesn't make a difference. It benefits you, benefits them, benefits you. What it does internally, and people will eventually see this anyhow, is the fact that it makes you feel good. I forget who to give this credit to, but one of those books I read One of those speakers said, we have this bank. I'll use that word. We have this bank. Well, the biggest bank, the most important bank of them all is our own bank, us. And when you do something good like that, when you're helping out a nonprofit like that, or if you're helping a friend, or you're helping another business, helping a referral partner, just because, just because they have been good to you, just because it makes you feel good, just because it puts a smile on your face that you did that for them and you wanted nothing in return, you couldn't even care less if they said anything to anybody anywhere or done anything with that. Nothing. Behind the door conversation, just a private conversation, not on stage, not on mic, not on camera, not on nothing. It just made you feel good. It's called a goodwill deposit. Gosh, I wish I could remember who it was and what book it was. I went through a period of time. I kept reading all these books, listening to them to be perfectly clear. I was commuting had like a 45-minute commute, no traffic, an hour and a half with traffic, 2 hour when it came to snow. So I picked up all these books on disc. Yeah, the CDs, got them from the library, stuck them in the car, and listened to these things all the time. Listened to number of different books. Great. That was a great use of time. Also found a lot of these books to be redundant after a while. But this one book talked about that aspect of it. It's called a goodwill deposit. And a goodwill deposit into yourself. That is absolutely not a waste of time. That's a great thing for you to do because it makes you feel good. It gives you a reason to get up in the morning. Gives you a reason to be because you know inside that you are a good person. You are doing the right thing. You got integrity. You are there. You were just there. Jewish world, they call it by doing a mitzvah. But it's not about you. It's about helping somebody else. The rest of that story is that it helps you. Because when you're out there, you're reaching out to somebody like that, you know what you do? You wind up feeling good because they smiled and you smile. That smile, hey, your goodwill deposit into you, into you. What'll that do? That keeps you motivated, keeps you going, gives you a sense of purpose too. When you're having that bad day and you just make one nice phone call to somebody to help them out, it's like, wow, you know what? That was kind of cool. Had that happen today? It was like, it was kind of odd. I was indirectly, that's the wife. Indirectly, what do we got here? 22 minutes. Indirectly, I was um I was asking. I wanted to give her, let's call it the right of first refusal, right of first refusal on something. Because I wanted to reach out to another company and maybe do something and whatever. The specifics really don't matter. But I called her up. I was like, hey, look, I'm thinking about doing this. Wanted to let you know first because I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense for you. That was really where it was. I was like, I think it makes sense for you, get in front of your target market, all the rest of that kind of stuff. And she's so kind. She's like, that really made me feel good. And I'm like, I made a phone call, basically. I just made a phone call. Um, in some respects, I was asking permission to make, other phone calls where I thought it would be more realistic to happen. But I wanted to give her the respect of the phone call, and that kind of thing. I didn't know. I didn't expect anything, but she really appreciated it. Didn't know. You know what that did? Made me feel real good. It just totally unexpected. Totally. I was like, so that was just a nice thing. Made me feel good. So that's good. But those things you do, don't ever underestimate them because you don't know. You don't know what the other person's going through. You don't know what their day is like. You don't know anything about that stuff. You don't even know if they got that project that they're kind of working on but didn't really talk about. And then you call up and say, look, man, I got this crazy idea. I got this thing I'm working on. And like, I don't know, but just wanted to let you know about it. And they may just be happy you called them. They may be happy it just was a phone call that had nothing to do with some of the stuff they're going through over the course of their day. You just never know. That's not a waste of time. So doing something for somebody just flat out of the blue, man, that's great. But let's get on to the nonprofits here. We got another 5 minutes or so here. Nonprofits. What nonprofit you're going to get involved with? Okay. You got that personal connection with it because they've helped out your family and that kind of thing? Yep, exactly. Yeah. You just do it. You just do it. Not expecting anything in return, stuff like that. And you know what happens there too? Even in that one, the more you give because you just want to give because you know how helpful they were to you, they in turn do the same thing for you. They share your name, they tell you different opportunities to do things, becomes a great thing. That's a natural fit. That you just do. Don't even question it, just do. You go figure how much time you can spend doing that. That's a personal thing, but you just do it. Mm. But it's the other one. What if you were to choose a nonprofit to get behind? Choose. Yeah, you're perfectly healthy. You've had no issues, nothing. You live a perfect world. Ah, I want to meet you, by the way. But you live in a perfect world there. You're not a challenge in anything. You just had like, you know what? I just want to do something for somebody someplace. I'm gonna go pick a nonprofit. Just pick a nonprofit. Well, you'll come up with some reason why something catches your attention. But if you're that business owner, that salesperson, now it's like, okay, let's go pick a nonprofit where my target market is. Hmm, hmm. Is that the right thing to do? The answer is you could do it. I don't think it's the right thing to do. Because eventually people seek that out. They see that. They see that. Just like they see your smile when you keep putting those little goodwill deposits into your soul. They see the others that are just full of there for the wrong reasons. Let's go with that word. They're just there for the wrong reasons. Why are you on the board of XYZ Foundation? Well, because I truly enjoy the work you do and stuff like that. Yeah. Or you just want to interact with people that have perhaps high net worth individuals that are retirees or folks that fit whatever parameters you have over there. Well, you know what's going to happen is that one day they're going to say, "Hey, you know what we'd like you to do is to help out in fundraiser." Gosh, I've seen this happen too. It was really sad actually. But want to help out with fund. Well, all of a sudden, you got a vacation coming up, you got something coming up. That person has got something coming up. Like they don't show. They don't show. You know what happens at goodwill deposit? Doesn't exist. It's not there. There, you're resented. And not only are you resented by that, it's like, you know, people know. People just know. There was one group, again, not mentioning names anyplace, not mentioning names anyplace, but they had an event that came up and they have quite a few board members that were on the roster. And when that nonprofit really needed their help, they didn't show. And I mean, they didn't even show. I forget about promote. They didn't even show. What do you think happened there? It was a complete revamp from that organization standpoint as to what's going on. You can speak to a lot of folks that run nonprofits. You can speak to a lot of people that run organizations, all different kinds of organizations. Now, you're not in the business world because, right, you got that dangling of the paycheck, so it's a little less clear sometimes. But if you are there, if you are in that organization, the nonprofit or that corporate world in the business as an employee or an owner, and you're there for the right reason, people see that. If you're not, and you're just there for that paycheck, people see that too. The clock watchers, right? We see that. People working from home that aren't really engaged in the business, it's like, you know, you know, you can't see what they're doing, but you know, when that work is handed in at 5 o'clock for a 5 o'clock deadline and it's always right at the last minute, it's like, oh, it's like high school, right? When do you hand in a report? Just when it's due. Never before, just when it's due. Well, in business, shouldn't be just when it's due. Get it done a little bit earlier. Ask for feedback, stuff like that. That's an engaged employee. But those people that are at these organizations that don't show, that don't participate, that are not there for the different events that are coming up, especially the challenging ones, the big fundraisers, those kind of things, that's seen. You're not in the right place. Not in any way, shape, or form. You are not in the right place. That's a waste of time for you. big time waste of time for them too. But it's a waste of time for you. So how do you pick a nonprofit? How do you pick an organization to belong to? Get to know them. Get to know them. Really get to know them. Go to a few events, see what's going on. Don't just meet the people that are running the thing, although they are really good, but meet the other folks that are there. How many people that on a committee or how many members of an organization are engaged in the organization? When they have meetings, how many people show up? All the rest of that kind of stuff. That's really where you get to see the true strength of the organization, not the folks that are getting compensated, but the folks that are not getting compensated. The folks that are there because they really want to be there. And what are they doing? If they're bending over backwards to go and do and to make the thing a success, that's a great organization. If that fits in really well with your efforts and your way of thinking, or your your business skills, and it's an organization you want to be a part of, not because they're the right target market, but because you want to be a part of, that's a great fit. That is not a waste of time. Always consider that. It's not where your target market is. It's about how it's going to affect you. Bottom line, are you putting a smile on your face by being a part of that organization, nonprofit, that company, that effort, that donation of time that nobody knows about? If that's what's happening, that's a good thing, because that'll carry not only the day, that'll carry you through a lot of things. And then ultimately, people will wind up talking about you in a very positive light. Not talking about you because, hey, we needed you as a board member to show up someplace. That's not good. It's all about you. It's all about you. Internally, it starts here. Then go figure out what makes the most amount of sense. That's how you can spend your day and not waste time. And when you do that, you will definitely speak well, speak often, and live inspired. Hey, I want to thank everybody for joining us here today. So, hey, Tyler, thanks for the comment there. Definitely appreciate it. A lot of things coming up. So definitely chat. Karen, good, and Bays. That's how we pronounce it. Thanks, man. All good. All right. Remember, speak well, speak often, live inspired. Here we go. We still got the tomato music coming up. Yosemite, you ready? All right. On with the tomato. Branding one tomato. Bang.